Hello and welcome. We're at the last day, beginners boot camp, and today we're going to actually make some things, or a thing, and I'll tell you how to make the other thing. So, in case you've forgotten, or it's your first time watching, or you are on the replay and just catching up, I am Siona, your crochet mentor, and I am here again with our beginners boot camp. Alright, so if you haven't watched the other days, if you're not comfortable with your stitches, then I recommend that you don't start making the things today and just watch and participate. And I am going to go at a reasonable pace as well. So if you're watching the replay or you're wanting to make this square, then you'll probably want to pause and slow down on whatever you can for the video as you make it. But hopefully my instructions will help enough that you can just follow along on with the chart and not have to listen to me. Excuse me. So anyway, so we're going to make the circle to square. And hello, if you've joined me, do say hi. If you're in the replay, say hi. Hashtag replay, and then I'll know that you're there. And let me know as well in the comments how you found this week. Was it useful? Was it not useful? Did you find something new if you're someone that has been crocheting a while? Has it sparked your interest in picking up on crochet, giving it more of a chance? Hello, Chantel. All right, so I'm not going to waste your time though, but do let me know how you've gone. So we're going to make this one. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start with the circle, and then I'm going to explain some things for the beanie, how to make a beanie or hat, and then I'll go back to finishing the circle, just because it's easier to explain the circle when I've got the circle. Alrighty, so if we look at our chart, we've got all the stitches today. So we've got our slip stitch, we've got a chain, which a little bit hard to see, maybe not so hard, but it's the circle. So one circle represents one chain. We've got our double crochet, which is the majority of the stitches, especially in the circle and around the edge. We've got our single crochet, which we've only got a few in round 4. And then we've got a half double crochet, which is, again, we've only got a few in round 4 as we make it into a square. So I'm going to do this in real time with you, and I'll talk you through it as best I can. But as I said, find new methods, taking notes on day 1 and 2 today. I'm learning and understanding. Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad you're finding it useful. And they will. All of these things that I've covered, and you might need to re-watch them a few times, because each time you watch, you'll have different skills that you'll have feel more in control of, and so some other things will pop out to you that you might not have heard before. All right, so we're going to start. Let me stop the light shining on it. I need another hook as a pointer tool. So we're going to start with a chain 4. So you can see there's 4 circles, and then we're going to slip stitch to make that one form a ring. Okay, so we'll give it a go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. They'll stay on this. This is in Facebook and in YouTube, so they'll just stay there. I won't be removing them. Slip stitch, I didn't, they do ask me if I want them there for 30 days, and I'm pretty sure for all of them I said that they could stay there. So I hope they do that, because I did say they could. Yeah. All right, so there's the slip stitch. We've now formed the ring. So if we look at this first one, we're going to, you're welcome. We're going to start with the chain 3, and all these are in the wrong little spots here, but we're starting with the chain 3. We're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we'll end up with 12 stitches altogether. So I'm just going to work those into the ring. So 1, 2, 3. So that's a chain 3. So now another 11, and I tend to work over the tail as well. So remember, we're working into that middle circle. We're not working into the chains, we're just working into that middle circle. I think this yarn's going to be ever so grateful that it finally is going to get to stay in something. This is the one I've used all week and keep pulling it apart. It's looking a little bit worn at this end, but that's okay. Its journey is now to be a square. And I've lost count, so I will count them before I finish. Now this one, the first 3 rounds, it's extremely important to count. So you're going to want to recognize your stitches. Question the hook method. Yes, this is pencil method. Let me see where I'm up to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You're using the other method if your hand looks more like that. That's the knife method. And you could have some other variation in between too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you can see I'm counting the posts of the stitches. It's much easier with the double crochet. You can also count the V's at the top if that is clearer to you. Alright, so I'm going to slip stitch to the top of that stitch, and we've now got 12 in the middle. Okay, so now we're going to do the increasing that I mentioned from round, goodness me, day 2. So this one, we're going to chain 3, and the chain 3 is counting as a double crochet, so it's giving us the height, a bit like the turning chains. And then I'm going to do 2 double crochets into every stitch around. So I'm increasing in every stitch. So this will keep it flat, and this will give us 24 stitches because we've started with 12. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. So now so 1 into that first one because that chain 3 already counts. And then we're going to do 2 into each round. So again, if you're not comfortable with your stitches, then I would get comfortable with that first, because then making the square won't be quite as difficult because you won't be remembering as many things because the stitches will be more natural to you. Lots of people love this square. That's why I include it, because it's always a favorite. Okay, so just keeping track that I have done 2 so far. I like to minimize my counting, but I will count all the stitches as well, because even when you think you've done them all, you're always potentially going to miss one. And this one, it's extremely important to get the stitches right, because it's a little bit hard to fudge this one. And you don't want to be finding out on round 4 that you made a mistake back in round 2. Okay, so I'm nearly there. Alright, so by my count I should, because I've got that stitch I think to work into, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, so 2 more. And then we're going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3. Okay, so we've now got 24. So if we look at this one, so you can see here that we've got a chain 3, and then we're going to be working 2 into every second one. So in this one I've done it so that there's 2 in the first and I finish with 1. I might actually make it the other way where I work 2 in the second, because that's just easier for my head. Okay, so we've got 2 in the first, then we've got 1, then we've got an increase in the next, then we've got 1, increase, 1, increase, 1. So you can see we're increasing in every second stitch. So again, we started with 12. We've got 24 in this round. So math says we'll end up with 36 in this one. If you're not sure, you can count them all. I am not going to count them all, but I will at the end when I've made the circle. So chain 3, And then I'm going to do 2 in the next one just because that's what I'm more comfortable with. I don't know why I wrote the pattern differently. And then 1, and then 2, 3. So if I was doing my counting, sorry, just loosening the yarn. So if you remember from day 2, it was 1, 2, and then I'm on round 3, so that one's the increase stitch. So 3, 1, 2, I'm on round 3, so 3 is the increase. And you can do that for all the rounds. So if you're making a beanie from this instead, you'll be doing 1, 2, 3 as singles, and then 4 would be the increase. It's just one way I find it that little bit easier. Glasses are falling down. 2, 3. Okay, so as I mentioned, I said I know I'm going fast, but again, if you're watching the replay, then just pause, make the bit that we're making, and then come back to it. Don't stress about not keeping up because you need to just focus on what you can do. But you don't want me here all day. Okay. So when I get to the end of this circle as well, I'll pause and explain some of the things for the beanie. Okay. Oh, I might have missed. No, I've done it right. 3, especially because it's easy to get distracted. So this one should be 1, and then 2, 3. All right. I might have miscalculated something somewhere here, so this is why we double check. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and then I see 6 more, so I didn't. Okay, so I'm going to slip stitch. So I'm going to pause. Now, if you look on the last page, we've got the instructions there for the beanie. So when you're making the beanie, look, it's the same sort of circle. You can size this in any way. So what you need to do is keep increasing. So I started with 12 for this one, so I'd increase by 12 in every round. And then you need to determine the circumference of the circle. So once you get to the circumference of the circle, so that's the outside edge. I know it's a long time since most of us have been in school. So the outside edge, that will match the circumference of your head. So whatever size you want to work to, that's the size you want to increase it to, and then stop increasing. You can always stop if your round is maybe a centimeter less, then you're better off stopping than you are to increase, because essentially, if you need to do some maths, there's a couple of things. So if you want to know how much bigger it's going to get, just measure the height of your stitches, and then you can recalculate the circumference. So the height of your stitches in one round, so this is approximately a centimeter, but remember you've got 2 centimeters because you're increasing on both sides. So you know that your radius or your diameter is going, or your radius will increase by 1 centimeter, your diameter will increase by 2, which is going to impact your circumference. Now, so what I do, you've got 2 methods. You can measure around the circle like you would around your head to get the circumference, or if you measure the radius, so the radius is from that middle circle out to the edge, and then you get, I've got 2 phones, so we'll go with that. Face ID. So if you just then go, and so I always just, this is what I've searched, is circumference of a circle. And this little calculator comes up. So then all you need to, go away, you. all you need to do is enter your value. So for this one, so I thought this would be like a little premature baby hat. So we've got 3.5 centimeters. So I'm going to enter 3.5, and you can see I've got a 22 centimeter circumference on my hat. So generally for mine, I need to go, no, I don't, I go to 9. I go to about 9, so somewhere between 8 and 9 to get the circumference that I need. Yeah, so that's as easy as it is. So once you get to the right circumference, that's when you stop increasing and you just work one stitch into every stitch, and you would get till you get the length of the beanie. So generally, if you want it to be a fitted beanie, so one that's tight, you would work it down to, say, the middle of your forehead or the forehead of the person that you're making it for, and then you would make your band. If you want a slouchy hat, you'd make it a lot longer, and then it'll hang off the back of the head. Now, if you do end up making it a little bit bigger than you want, then the tricks that you've got is once you finish making the band, the sides of the hat, so the height, then you can switch to a smaller hook, or you can do some decreases to get it to that size. I generally fit them to my own head, so I adjust it. So you can go down like one hook size. It'll just make those stitches a bit tighter. You can do that for a couple of rounds, and that'll give it a little bit of a snug spot on your head, and then you can continue to make the band back in the normal size hook. If you did want to make it with a brim like I've got in the last picture, then you just start increasing again, and you can make your own rules. You can go with the same thing as you did with the start. So if you're increasing 12 stitches per round, you could do more, you can do less. And then if you want it to tilt up a bit, then you just do a couple of rounds where you're no longer increasing, and that will help it stand up a bit better. Okay, so just some guidance there if you wanted to make your own beanie, especially those of us in Australia here, where we're, oh, I need that page, don't I, for the picture. Oh, and also note you do have the written instructions as well. So if you wanted to learn to read a pattern, then you can read them both ways. And I write mine a little differently because I'm used to writing procedures, and I do not like how traditional crochet patterns are written. They mess with my head. I always rewrite them. So I always write them out with bullet points. So you can try follow that instead. So I'm actually going to fasten off because I'm going to switch to the white. So to fasten off, you're essentially just doing a slip stitch, cutting the yarn and just pulling the yarn all the way through. So we'll let white have a play here as well. Okay. So this one you can attach anywhere. It doesn't matter where you attach. If you wanted to stay with the same color, then you would just continue where you are. I'm going to go part way around because I'm going to crochet over the ends as well. So also note, if your square isn't looking quite as solid, just make sure that you're working in the V's. So when you insert your hook, you should see the hook through the two V's there. I do know that it's quite common for people to just go in between the stitches, which is totally okay as well, but you're going to get a different look. So if you're wanting that solid look like this one, then just make sure that you can see that hook, you can feel that hook through the top. Because if you go in under there, you've got a little catch there, and you're not going to see the hook in the same way. All right, so to attach a new color, you're just going to insert your hook. You've got a slip knot on the yarn you're adding, and just pull that onto the hook, and then just pull up a loop. Okay, so that's the simplest way. So then we're just going to chain 3. All right, so we're starting here. So we're making, oh, sorry, the light. Let me explain. So into that first stitch, you're going to chain 3, and you've got a double crochet, and then you've got a chain 2. Now we're not skipping anything. This is going to be the increased part. So you're creating a corner here. That's a corner space. The next stitch, you're going to do 2 double crochet. So you're essentially working a corner across 2 of the stitches. If you move it around, you've then got 1/2 double crochet in the next 2 stitches, so 1 into each. Then you've got 3 single crochets, and then you've got 2 half double crochets, and then we're back at the next corner, which is 2 double crochets, a chain 2, and then 2 double crochets in the next. And that should be as it's written here. You might find this easier to follow because it's all bullet points. Okay, so we'll follow whichever one you prefer. So again, so we've chained 3, and now we're going to do another double crochet into that same stitch. And you see, now if this is your first time making thing, don't stress about getting, I'm working over the yarn. I do that so that I don't have to weave in the ends. It's, you could call it lazy, you could call it efficient, whichever you prefer. Okay, so then oops, I didn't do the chain 2. How about we do that too? So we want the corner space. So 2 double crochet, then chain 2. Okay, then 2 double crochet into the next one. Okay, so now we've got 1 half double crochet into each of the next 2. And then we've got, so what you can see, it's just to visualize, is we're trying to turn that circle into a square. So we, if you can see, if you put a line across, you can see we're trying to make it square. So we're working with different height stitches to turn that into that square. So we're starting with the tall ones because that's closer down the edge of the circle, moving our way to the short ones because it's at the top of the circle, and then we're moving back down to taller ones. So I've done 2 half double crochet. We've now got 3 single crochets. And this is why it's important to get the stitch count right, because we've got 12 stitches. Oops, sorry. 12 stitches? No. Yes, per side. That doesn't sound right. 9 stitches. Don't do math with me. Okay, so then 2 half double crochets. 9. Whatever 36 divided by 4 is. Okay, so that's the side. We're now into the next corner. So we've got 2 double crochets. And again, if you want to use the hello Michelle, I'm sorry you've been sick. They'll be here for ages. I'm not taking them down. So you'll find them in both Facebook and on YouTube. So I've chained 2, and now I'm going to do 2 double crochets, and I do hope you make the time to catch up because it's a wonderful, wonderful craft. All right, so you can see now we've got a straight side and some corners. You're welcome. All right, so we've got 9. Thank you. Yes, math. It's too early in the morning for math. Counting is my limit. It is, what are we? It's almost 5:30 here in the morning for me. So 2 half double crochet. We've now got 3 single crochets. So 1 into each stitch. We're not doing, the only increases we've got is at our corners. Then 2 half double crochets. And then I'm up at 4:30. It's not early for me. And then 2 double crochets into that corner. And then chain 2. So you can see we've now got 2 sides and half a corner for the third one. So the next stitch, I hope I'm working across the stitches. We've got 2 double crochets. And then we've got 2 half double crochets, 1 in each stitch. Start work at 6. Yeah. That's where I do my business time, my exercise, walk the dog if it's summer. 1 single crochet across. So I start around 8. So I have quite a longish day. Sometimes I have meetings for work because I work with people in the US as well. And I allow them to schedule some meetings for me because I'd rather be up early than way too late. So then we've got the 2 half double crochets. So just repeating everything we've just done. So we should be just about onto our last side. So chain 2. So we've got the last half of the corner. Now hopefully I've been paying correct attention and I don't have to redo anything here. Okay, 2 half double crochets. Yes, it looks right. I'm just counting ahead. Get some white. 3 single crochets. And then we finish with our 2 half double crochets. Alrighty. Done. So you can see we now have ourselves a little square. So I'm going to slip stitch. Now normally I like to go into the double crochet next to it, but slip stitch into the top of that chain 3. It's just easier for me. I think it looks neater. Alright, so we've now got 4 rounds. You can see our circle is now a square. And we're back on the easier part as far as counting. So what we're going to do here, so this is where we are. So technically that is here. So I apologize for my not correcting this chart when I made it. So you're going to chain 3, and then we're going to do 1 double crochet into each stitch. Then when we get to the corner, we're going to do 2 double crochets. I'll just move it round to a better corner. So we're going to do 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, and this time the corner will be worked into the space, not into the stitch. Okay, and then you've simply got 1 double crochet into every stitch down that side, because we've already made it square, so it will stay straight, or it will pull straight. And then once we get to the chain 2 space, we're going to do the corner. So 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. And again, you might find it makes more sense to read the written instructions, or maybe both together. So we'll chain 3, and we'll do double crochet into that stitch. So we're at the chain 2 space, so we've got 2 double crochets into that one, then chain 2, then 2 double crochets again. Now when you come out of the corner, this is where a lot of people will fall down a little bit. So when we're working in the round, you're working to the hook side of the stitch, so you're going to need to make sure that you get that little, the first stitch there. So to work into that one, it's on your hook side. Okay, so we're now doing 1 double crochet into every stitch across. When you're working in rows, because you've turned it over, you're working into the yarn side of that, yarn hand side of that stitch. Okay, so 1 into each. Just keep working our way across. My cat wouldn't let me shut the door to this room this morning, lying across the door opening, being a pain. Hopefully all the animals stay quiet. They have so far. Okay, so 1 into each stitch. We've now got chain space, so we're doing our corner, which is 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, and then we're back doing 1 into each stitch. Okay, so again, if you're only just jumping in now and you're wondering why I'm going so fast, because you don't want me here all day, but do watch the replays, slow it down, pause it, whatever you need to do to get the square made, because you really only need to sort of see a little bit and then just follow my lead. So just 1 into every stitch. That pulls them square. This one's always a favourite. Okay, so the chain 2 space, you're going to do 2 double crochet, chain 2, and you've also got the granny square. You've just got the chart there from in day 2 when I was showing how to read a pattern in the round, so you can practice that one as well. That at least is all the same stitches and a lot less counting. But this one, you can see which you prefer, the chart or the written pattern. You can mix between the two. I know sometimes if I'm following someone else's pattern that's got a chart, I'll quite often go between the two because sometimes what they're writing just does not make sense, but you look at it with the chart and it's like, oh, I get it now. So yeah, you might find that you need to do two, like use both. I'm glad you're starting to enjoy the written. So again, it's some of them are, it depends how they're written as well sometimes. As I said, I'm used to writing procedures and putting in clearer instructions than I think the original ones. They were limited with space, in magazines and things. So the original method, we've got more space now. We've got more ways to format, so we can change it up, which is what I do to make it easier to follow. All right, so we're going to keep going along till we get to the last one. So you can see I don't bother counting. Once I've got it right, I don't really bother counting from there. If you wanted to keep making this square bigger, like the square part, not the white part, then all you need to do is work 1 into each stitch, and then just increase the same way on the corners. And then you've got square. All right, so it's just slip stitch to the top of that stitch and then fasten off. So fasten off, just yarn over and pull through. You can cut the end and then you just keep pulling that tail through. Okay, and there we go. We've got our circles. So I also teach to weave in the ends as you go because it is most people's least favorite chore or task to do with crochet. So I say do it now when you've got 2 ends and not when you've got 100. So sew them in, you just follow where you can, and I always will go where I can back where I went, and that will just tighten that, make the tail less likely. If you started with a magic ring, then definitely need to weave that one in well. I just do not trust it with squares, especially if it's going into a blanket. If it was going into something else, then that's fine. So if you don't have that bit down the middle, just follow the post down the middle of that post until you get to a part where it's a little bit more dense, and then I work my way through the denser part and then back. So when you go back, make sure that you're going over a part so that you're not trying to pull it back where you've just been. And it really is as simple as that, and so much easier to do now than later. The only time I wouldn't weave in those ends, I'd still weave in the middle one, but the edge one is if I was using it to sew and join them together. All right, so that calls an end to our little boot camp. I hope you've had some fun there, and I'm always around the group. A bit slow to respond sometimes in this one, but you can always pop a message in and tag me if you've got any questions. I'm here to help. All right, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed the boot camp. Do attend the replays if you're still playing catch up or you're learning at a slower pace, then yeah, and you're most welcome. It's been a fun week. I'm glad I've put it on again. All right, excellent. I'm glad you're going to go back and watch Michelle. There's lots. So yeah, every day, and again, slow them down if you need to, and just get comfortable with the stitches before you move on, because the reason I give this boot camp, or have given it, is because once you learn all these foundational things, it makes everything else so much easier. And I think a lot of people just jump too far ahead too soon, and then get stuck, or yeah, you just build on those skills. But anyway, I am done, and I will see you another time. Enjoy your weekends and enjoy the replays. Okay, bye.